So if you're watching this piece, you can also have access to the booklet, which this whole piece is based off of. The booklet, the story, I created as a way to explore my own personal past. We found all these photographs in a cardboard box in the garage, and as you can see from the dates, several of them were quite old, and the silver gelatin starting to go on the portrait of my grandmother when she was about 3 from 1934. And so I took high-res pictures of the pictures in the event that something happens to them when we go to take them to get restored. But the thing is that some of the content of this story are wrong for one reason or another. For some of them, I didn't remember the story correctly. For some of them, I was never told the story in the first place and kind of pieced together what I do know. And some of them are kind of the right memory at the wrong place in the wrong time. So when my mother came down for the Thanksgiving holiday, she was looking at it, and as my #1 editor for the last, say 10, 15 years, she went through it and started correcting my work, as she did when I was an undergrad, when I was in high school, and even when I was a journalist. Sometimes she would critique my grammar. So there you go. There's the English teacher in her. And English being something she passed down to me. I've always been a storyteller. For as long as I can remember, I was telling stories even when I could first talk. And one of the most fascinating stories from that era of being 3 or 4 was thinking my grandmother was a spy. So my grandmother had gone to what I understood was she had gone to secretary school after high school. But as I read you the corrections to that entry, it says Marion High School, West Main Street, 1949. Your grandmother attended Southern Illinois Normal University right after high school. She attended there for 2 years before having to quit to take care of Granny. Granny being her mother, Helen Borum. It says, Grandma took business classes in high school, not in college. She made extra money while she was in college by typing papers for others, which also intended to include my mother later. So my grandmother would type on an Underwood, which we still have somewhere, buried in a storage locker of some kind. So it could not be here today with you. But my mother would have typed her papers in the 70s on a IBM machine, very much like this one that you're observing today. And she was not a good typist. She could write, but typing was just not her thing. So my grandmother would type it for her, and with much, shall we say, flustering between the two of them, which I always found amusing because in high school I had to have my mom type it up for me because I would be sitting there dictating to her what it was that I was trying to say, and she would just type what I was saying. So nice to see traditions continue. And another tradition that we had was that my grandmother was a typist, and then my mother was a telephone switchboard operator. And then later, here I am as a designer and doing video editing. So it's a nice progression to see how our careers have evolved with the technology that we have been using. So I hope you enjoy this piece, and thank you.